Tensions between the U.S. and Iran are at a boiling point. But you know what? The most critical battle, it isn't being fought in the Middle East. It's happening right now, behind closed doors in Washington. Today, we're going to break down the deep divisions that could decide whether America gets dragged into another war.
So this is the one question that's just haunting Washington. But the answer, it's not a simple yes or no. It's this incredibly complex puzzle of military strategy, intense political pressure, and a constitutional power struggle that is playing out in real time.
At the very heart of this crisis is one single decision: how to respond. And that one question is exposing a deep and, frankly, dangerous divide between the president, his top advisors, and the U.S. Congress. To really understand how we got here, we've got to start with the attack that set this all in motion.
Every fire starts with a spark, right? To understand the debate that's absolutely raging in Washington, we have to look at the specific attack that lit this fuse and brought the U.S. right to the brink.
The escalation was just swift and deadly. First, you have an Israeli strike on Iranian forces. Then Iran retaliates, but not against Israel. They hit a U.S. base. And here's the critical turning point. American casualties were confirmed. In that single moment, the whole situation changed from a regional skirmish into a direct confrontation, forcing the White House to a major crossroads.
And the military's response? It was immediate. General Dan Caine, a top commander in the region, went public, saying that retaliation could be justified. Now, this wasn't just a threat. It was a crystal clear signal from the Pentagon that, as far as they were concerned, Iran had crossed a line, and it could not go unanswered.
Okay, this is where the real drama unfolds. And it's not on the battlefield, it's inside the White House. There's this intense debate going on, pitting the pressure for immediate forceful action against the absolutely terrifying prospect of a much, much larger war.
Inside the administration, you have two incredibly powerful forces just colliding. On one side, you have the demand for aggressive action, reportedly coming from President Trump himself, demanding decisive options to strike back and strike back hard. But on the other side, you've got this wall of caution from military and diplomatic advisors who are terrified that any major retaliation could ignite a massive, uncontrollable regional war.
And look, their warnings aren't just vague fears. They are pointing to specific, absolutely catastrophic risks. They see a war spreading like wildfire across Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. They foresee direct attacks on American troops all over the region. They predict a proxy conflict that could suck in global powers like Russia and China. And finally, they fear a massive shock to the global economy as oil prices just skyrocket.
But the pressure isn't just coming from inside the White House. Over on Capitol Hill, influential foreign policy hawks like Senator Marco Rubio are making the exact opposite argument. For them, caution isn't being prudent, it's weakness. And they believe that weakness will only invite more attacks from Iran.
Senator J.D. Vance is echoing that same call for a stronger response, but he adds a really crucial condition: clear support from Congress before any military action is taken. This isn't just a political preference. This cuts right to the heart of a fundamental American law.
And this is so important, because this isn't just about strategy anymore. It's about the law. The U.S. Constitution is unambiguous. The power to declare war belongs to Congress, not the president alone. Any major military retaliation without congressional approval could spark a constitutional crisis right in the middle of a global one.
This debate in Washington doesn't exist in a vacuum. The decision made in the Oval Office could set off a catastrophic chain reaction, a domino effect, with massive implications for the entire world.
To understand why the stakes are so high, you have to see that Iran doesn't fight alone. It has this immense power through a whole network of proxies across the region, from militias in Iraq and Syria to Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. A direct attack on Iran could activate this entire network, instantly turning a single conflict into a devastating multi-front war.
The potential consequences are just staggering. I mean, we're talking about a regional war igniting across the entire Middle East, a major threat to the world's oil supply, the potential for widespread cyber attacks on Western infrastructure, and even the strategic involvement of superpowers like Russia and China.
And here's how this global crisis could hit you directly. A war with Iran would almost certainly cause oil prices to skyrocket, and that sends shockwaves through the global economy, driving up the price you pay for gas, for groceries, for pretty much everything you buy.
So, given all these risks and all this pressure, where do we go from here? As the situation stands, it looks like there are 4 main paths forward, and they range from contained to catastrophic.
So, option 1 is surgical, limited targeted strikes that send a message without sparking a wider war. Option 2 is economic. You bypass military action for crippling sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Option 3 is constitutional, a formal debate in Congress to either authorize or block further action. And then, there's the final, most dangerous path, all-out regional escalation, the nightmare scenario if all the other options fail.
This forces us right back to the core strategic dilemma. After you weigh all the risks of action versus inaction, the fundamental question is still there. Should the United States respond with military force at all?
And that leads to the final and maybe the most important question of all. It's not just about if America should act, but who gets to decide. Should Congress have the final say before a president commits the nation to war? The answer to that won't just determine the fate of this crisis, but it will also define the balance of power in America for years to come.